Morning, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I'd like to begin the meeting by reminding you that a lot of the people at this table are hearing impaired and the rest of you mumble. So please speak directly into your microphone.
Who are you talking about, Louis?
Y'all too. I'd like to begin the meeting by asking Susan O'Connor to please read the minutes or go over the minutes for her committee meeting.
I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Audit and Operations Committee. And I would ask Faye to give us a roll call.
Susan O'Connor.
Here.
Pam Dana.
Here by phone.
Garrett Walton.
Here.
All right, all present, and welcome Pam by phone. And I would like to, at this time, to request approval of the minutes from the August 13th meeting that we held.
So moved.
I move. Second.
Moved and seconded. If there are no corrections or changes, may I have a motion to approve as presented then? Ask for a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Finding none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. If there are no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'd now like, in Trustee Jay Patel's absence, I'd like to call on Trustee Merrill to give the report for the Student Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Faye, will you call the roll, please?
Sure. Collier Merrill.
Here.
Cora Merritt.
Present.
Jay Patel.
Thank you, Faye. You've got the minutes before you for our last meeting. Can I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those minutes approved. That concludes our meeting, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next committee meeting, the Academic Affairs Committee, does not have a quorum, so Chairman Jones, we won't need you to make a report, but I'd like to refer that action to the next committee meeting, which will be in November. Trustee O'Sullivan.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee. Faye, would you please do a roll call?
Yes. Louis Bear Jr.
Present.
Dave Cleveland.
Here.
Mort O'Sullivan.
Present. You have before you the minutes of our August 13th, 2012 meeting. If there are no corrections or changes, may I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Bear, would you second that?
I second it. I'm
All right.
sorry.
You're mumbling.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. If there are no further items to discuss, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I would like to call to order the meeting for the Board of Directors, the trustees, and I'd like any trustees who are on the phone to please identify themselves.
Pam Dana.
Is there anyone else? Faye, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Louis Bear.
Present.
Dave Cleveland.
Present.
Pam Dana.
Present.
Bob Jones.
Here.
Collier Merrill.
Here.
Cora Merritt.
Present.
Susan O'Connor.
Present.
Mort O'Sullivan.
Present.
Jay Patel. Bentina Terry. Garrett Walton.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Faye. Today, we're happy to be webcasting this meeting. That means all of you have to behave yourselves. And I also would like to tell General Horner how much I appreciate him allowing me to chair the meeting. And I also would like to recognize one of our trustees who has not been able to make meetings because of some other circumstances, who's here with us today, Garrett Walton. Glad to have you with us, Garrett.
Glad to be here. Look forward to serving.
I'd now like to call on President Benz to give her president's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I do that, I'd like to call on Vice President Kyle Marrero for a special presentation.
Good morning. The persons constituting the University of West Florida Foundation Fellows shall be elected upon the nomination of the Board of Directors of the Foundation and confirmation by the President of the University of West Florida. The elected membership of a Foundation Fellows is limited only by the high standards used in their selection to assure that this honor be extended only to persons of merit and distinction. When considering potential Foundation Fellows, the following qualifications are considered: service on the Foundation Board, service to the University, support of the University, and other appropriate endeavors. The elected Foundation Fellow of 2012 has served on the Foundation Board for a term of 3.5 years, and as the UWF Board of Trustees for a total of 12.5 years by the end of his term here in January 2013. A new Foundation Fellow was the first chair of the Board of Trustees appointed by former Governor Jeb Bush. He also currently on the Board of Trustees for the Community Maritime Park Associates and the Naval Aviation Museum Foundation. As a graduate of the University of West Florida with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management, he was named the University of West Florida Distinguished Alumni of the Year in 2000. Well, not only is he the new Foundation Fellow, he's the president of Maryland Company, but he is also the owner of Jackson's Steakhouse and the Fish House and the Greater Southern Restaurant LLC and the Atlas Oyster Bar and all those places we love to eat. And just a great guy and somebody who has served this university so well. So I'm proud to unveil the new Foundation portrait of Collier Merrill as our newest Foundation Fellow.
Thank you very much.
This will be over your man's
Come on, boys. Come on, boys.
We have Arnold Schwarzenegger's body.
That's a good picture.
Thanks. Thanks,
And-
Kyle.
And thank you, Collier. You have served this university far above and beyond what anyone would ever have expected of you. We really appreciate it. You're very deserving. Now for the President's report, I am going to give you just some highlights at the federal, the state, and the local level. Some of the things that are going on that are important to our institution. At the federal level, as we all know, anyone who watches the news knows, the $109 billion cut that Congress agreed to, that they would take, has not been agreed to. And everyone is concerned about the January 2nd deadline, which, if nothing is done, automatic cuts will go in. It's called sequestration, and it does affect higher education. I don't know whether that will happen or not, and the political experts are also mixed. But at any rate, if it does not, it will affect federal spending to higher education by reductions of 8.2% in our discretionary programs and 7.6% in reduction for our mandatory programs. And it will also include a lot of cuts in research. This is the fiscal cliff that is talked about in the political news, and the sequestration was meant to encourage Congress, or these automatic cuts were to encourage Congress to come together to compromise on the deficit reduction. That's really what's driving this train, is this terrible deficit that is increasing every day. If it does also go into effect, the law would affect Pell Grants and loan fees such as the Stafford student loans and the Pell Grants. They will all go up or down, whichever is worse. Right, Pell Grants will go down, they won't get as much money, and the price for the interest rate on student loans will go up. So that's where it sits in terms of higher education at the federal level that could afford us. So keep your eye on it. Talk to your congressmen and senators if you want to, and you should. Now, at the state level, there is new leadership coming into Tallahassee in the State House. Senator Gates, from none other than Fort Walton Beach and Niceville, is going to be president of the Senate. And my nephew, Will Weatherford, is going to be the House Speaker. He is from Chapel Hill, which is near Newport Richey, just north of Tampa. So they will be they're going to be reelected. I feel almost as positive as I can about anything like that. And they will be installed in November. And after that, the committees will be set, the chairs will be set, the committee assignments will be made, and they'll begin to roll into immediately committee meetings late November. Actually, it will be early December. So I really do look forward to working with both of them. They are both friends and family, and at least they will listen and support us. As you well know, this is going to be the year, in our opinion, for the House and the Senate of the Florida legislature to deal with higher education. They've dealt with K through 12, and now this is the year they're going to deal with us. There are, I think, 7 task forces. Is that right, Janice? 7. Designated by various entities, the legislature, the Board of Governors, and the governor himself. And most will have their recommendations into their respective bodies by November. And in the legislature, the governor, or the Board of Governors. We will, Janice and our staff will provide an analysis to you, trustees, of all of the recommendations of the various task forces. What do they mean? How would they affect us? What's the likelihood of them working? I personally am in charge of the Facilities Task Force, Facilities Funding Task Force. No one knows better than us that PICO is gone, and that is how all of the state academic buildings were built up until this point in the history of our university. The College of Business, whose ribbon we will cut on October the 4th, is the last state-funded PICO building we will ever have. Everybody knows that. Everybody's doing that all across the state of Florida. The question is, how are we going to fund new buildings in the future? And my task force has been meeting twice. I think we've met 4 times. We had our last meeting last week and made a report to the Board of Governors. We've done all of our work, and now we are pulling together the information into a draft report. It'll be the second draft. Our final draft will go to the Board of Governors on November the 9th at their meeting, where I'll make a presentation about the results. We've been, what I've been doing lately, I'm a pretty practical person, and I'm not going to spend anybody's time and money on things that are going to be dead on arrival whenever they arrive. So we have several kinds of proposals that the task force has been developing. And I've been running them up the flagpole, so to speak, taking the blood pressure of the leadership in the legislature where the final decisions are going to be made, and the Board of Governors, and finding out which ones are dead and which ones have a pulse and which pulse is weak, which pulse is strong. I've been easily getting meetings. They have been eagerly listening to me. What are you coming up with, Judy? Or the task force. And I can say that I've had yeses to most of our ideas. The ideas really form or come under 2 categories. One is deregulation, letting us easing the regulations that we have concerning our money, and money that can go for facilities, easing those regulations so we can have more flexibility with the funds that we already take in, tuition and fees, auxiliaries, and all of that. And right now we're in very rigid silos, and if we have a surplus in housing, we can only use it for housing and can't use it on anything else. And there is no provision for academic classrooms and academic facilities. So, so using our money for those, giving us flexibility. Also, partnerships with the private sector, public-private partnerships. The acronym is P3, and we are asking for flexibility of existing burdensome bonding regulations that exist. And so I've talked to Ben Watkins, who is the heads up the state. What's his real title, Janice?
Director of Division of Bond Finance.
Bond finance, right. If Mr. Watkins says no, it's no. If Mr. Watkins says yes, it's yes. And we're asking him about debt. We're asking him about, could the universities take on debt? Could we bond any of our tuition? A little bit, lots of oversight. What can we do? And we had a very robust and positive discussion with Mr. Watkins because he understands that we are in a trap and we've got to get out. I do not have to create a sense of urgency. The sense of urgency, no, urgency is here. There is no more money. We are getting a $0 in PICO for the coming year. You don't get any more of a sense of urgency and crisis than that. So I've also spoken with Senator Gates, with the governor's new chief of staff, Adam Hollingsworth, and Speaker Designate Weatherford. And they're all listening. Some are saying, I don't like this as much as some others, but the conversation has begun. And the thing is that they know something needs to be done for us. And so everything is still on the table. I was surprised. Of course, Senator Gates said no to some, and Will Weatherford said maybe to all of them, but that's okay. We're in the conversation, and they've got it. Now, the state budget for higher education. As you know, the $300 million that was cut from the state budget last year by the legislature, a one-time cut, was distributed to the various universities, and our cut was $11.9 million. We have made that cut. We made it all out of our carry forward, and the freeze that I imposed on carry forward in order to deal with this has been lifted. We made strategic cuts. That means that we didn't cut across the board. We looked at the units that rely on carry forward, their reserves more than others. To remind all of you, our carry forward at this point is distributed throughout the units. Only a very small portion is kept centrally. And we looked and saw what they've been doing with it. Have they been really relying on it? And if they really have, we didn't cut all of it. We gave them enough. Susan Stevenson, our chief budget officer, and her staff did analysis and came up with a formula that is fair, that respects the operations of each unit, and everybody had to pay. Nobody was spared. The president's office took a huge hit. The president's division took a huge hit. Administrative services took another huge hit. But everybody paid. And so it's over. I will tell you that the $300 million is back in the budget for the state university system in Tallahassee. So far, the legislators have kept their word that it is a one-time cut and the money is being replaced. That's good. Of course, we're watching it like a hawk. All of us are, to make sure it stays there, but so far, so good. Now, on the campus, the fall 2012, we have record enrollment. The first day of classes, we had 12,823 students enrolled. That number has dropped as some students haven't paid their tuition, something happened in their families, or there's something happened to them. That will fluctuate for a little while. But it represents, on the first day of classes, a 6.6% increase in our enrollment. And I am glad everybody had a big part in that. The freshmen are clogging up parking. I'm getting our calls from moms and dads, but there's no place to park. But that's a good thing. The lines are too long. There's not enough food, and we're ramping everything up. We have the largest freshman class in history. We have been targeting freshmen, new first-time in college students, and we are up 30% over last year. So that's wonderful. We have the real freshman class is 1,847 and growing. We have also in our housing, I know everyone is happy to know that we're at 107% full. That means we have triples in, we have 7% of our residents with an extra bed. And so that's good. I know all the housing people, our bond holders are absolutely happy about that. So we're very good. And we had a terribly long waiting list of 212, I think, 2 weeks before the start of the fall semester. So we can absorb, have more housing. We also have more faculty to teach these more students, and we have 47 new faculty, 32 which are brand new position. That's a net gain. Now you read in the paper all the time about reductions. Florida Atlantic is laying off 150. Florida Gulf Coast is laying off 105. Faculty and staff. You see Florida Atlantic is closing campuses. They have a lot of branch campuses. We are not. We're alive, we're well, we're healthy, we're growing. We have the capacity to grow more, but what we've done is stay true to our mission by not building classrooms for 1,000 students, but by hiring more faculty to teach in the smaller classrooms we have so that we can still offer the small class size and the personal attention to students that we value so much. And the new faculty, you can tell them they're kind of like new freshmen. They don't know where to go, and they don't know who I am, and they haven't found Starbucks yet, and they're preparing their syllabus for the first time, and they're a lot of fun. They are. They're coming to me. We also had an experiment this summer. We call it the summer cohort, where Vice President Bailey and Tom Westcott, who is the Dean of Lower Division, and the Academic Affairs came together and said, look, we have several hundred students who have applied to the University of West Florida and almost made it. They're just below the margin in terms of admission standards. Instead of a 3.0, they had a 2.95, things like that. And so to those that were real close was sent a letter. Sorry we can't admit you to the University of West Florida, but if you will attend a summer cohort, a summer class, summer school, where you take one remedial course that you need in math, and this is the one we selected, and one real course like an English or art or whatever, history, and you make C's or better, you'll be able to be admitted to the University of West Florida, but you got to live on campus. And we expected 50. We had 150. They all lived. We had to open up a new dorm. They all lived together, and these are fresh out of high school, 2 weeks out of high school. And so who knew what they were going to do? And my hat is off to housing, to Tom, to Dr. Westcott, to Dr. Bailey, to Dr. Marker. Everyone really helped. And I will tell you that 80% of those students are enrolled today at the University of West Florida. Now, when we say we are providing access to higher education to young people in this state, and they were almost from everywhere else. We only had like 25 from Escambia and Santa Rosa County. These were the county with the highest percentage and number was Brevard County, Broward County, Dade County, Duval County. And I don't know why they came. They've been asked. I just don't know the results. But that sends a great signal. The students want to come here, and they're willing to come here to summer school just to get in. So I think we're on the right track. We're not perfect, but we're certainly on the right track. Now, another thing that's happening, because we are growing in enrollment, is I will tell you that our classroom space has been underutilized the most. We've been lowest in classroom utilization in the state university system forever. So we have capacity. But on the other hand, since we haven't used all of our classrooms very much in the past, not all of them have been upgraded. And so professors started coming to me and the provost and their deans and saying, hey, I don't mind teaching in this classroom, but it barely has electricity and it's got a chalkboard. Those days are over, and we need them. We need connections to the internet. We need a laptop. We need a smart classroom. So Vice President Altieri made sure that over the summer, every single classroom that we have is smart. It has a podium that's electronic. It has a PowerPoint. It has a projector. It has a screen. It's connected to the internet. All a professor has to do is to bring in a jump drive or connect to his own laptop or her laptop computer in their office, and they're ready to go. So thank you, Matt. The professors are thanking me a lot. They're smiling instead of griping about that. We've got some, and I think it's our responsibility to do that. We all did, so it's just time to do it. We never actually needed to do it before, and that's a good sign. We've got some nice things coming up. The College of Business ribbon cutting is October the 4th at 4 o'clock. Please come, drool over it. It's absolutely incredible. And remember, the last building with state funding we'll ever have. President's Hall is filled to capacity. It's going to be, the ribbon cutting will be at, it just opened, 252 beds. This one has a Papa John's Pizza. A restaurant and a convenience store, and it's right across from 100 feet, 200 feet from President's Hall, so a Heritage Hall. So there's like a nice courtyard between, and a little community with a place to eat and tables and umbrellas, and nice place. This is what students want, and that's what they're going to get from the University of West Florida. So anyway, it's full of capacity. We're going to have a grand opening in December at the December board meeting on campus. Now, what are we going to do this fall? Let's look into the future just a little bit. Our fall initiatives are focusing on some very important things. We're going to make some big steps at your university this year. The first one is a focus on retention and academic integrity. Retention is headed up really by Vice President Bailey and Vice President Marker. Our retention rate is lousy. As you see on the report of my goals, we made no progress from last year, and we have got to focus on it. Retention begins with each of us. Vice President Bailey put together a plan. That plan has been funded on time, and we are focusing on implementing it right now. The second one is diversity and inclusion. As you know, we had 2 nooses that were found on our campus last spring. It was a horrible wake-up call that the university is diversifying. This class of freshmen is 40% diverse. Last year's was 34% diverse. We are beginning to look like, at UWF, like society, which is diverse. Travel across town, you see people across the region, people of all kinds and all beliefs and all colors and all religions, and that's what we're beginning to look like. We're a public university, and we include everyone. So we have to do a little things to deal with that. And Vice President Bailey has put together a council to advise us on diversity and inclusion. It just met on Wednesday. The Common Ground is also meeting. We're hiring a chief diversity officer. Let's just say rehiring. In the first round of cuts, that line was vacant, and it went into the cuts. It just was a bad timing, and we're going to hire a new one. Hopefully, he or she will be on board in January. Now, new budget. You can imagine taking the $12 million cut we have because we have carry forward was not a good thing to happen. We need a new budget model. A budget model that encourages people to spend their money, that gives them the money they need to grow and develop, and a way to distribute the money that is not needed or the money that we have in a fair way. We are going to have this time next year a new budget model. We're going through the process now. It's headed up by the provost, and it's going to be very inclusive. There aren't a lot of choices, but we're going to figure out one that doesn't put us in this kind of a hole. The next thing is we have a new strategic plan. You adopted it at our last meeting. So instead of being at the end of one, we're at the beginning of the new one with all of the issues that go along with now what do we do? And we're doing that. We're beginning to implement it, and you'll hear that more about that. The next thing is enrollment. We've been wanting to grow enrollment, and we have, but we've been focusing on freshmen, first time in college. We're going to continue to focus on that, but we need to broaden out our enrollment plan. How many, what proportion of what kinds of students should be at the University of West Florida? Should we have a pyramid? Should we have an hourglass, meaning freshmen on the bottom, graduate students on the top? Should it be pretty straight-sided? Should we have about the same in each rank? Well, I don't know, but we're going to focus on, remember our mission? I think we'll always have a lot of juniors, more than maybe freshmen, because we're heavy into transfers. And our transfers are increasing. So we're going to take a look at that and now focus our marketing and recruiting on the different ranks that we have and different ages. 25 to 49 is a big age bracket. Let me put it this way. Students that are 25 to 49 years old represent the highest proportion of students in universities today in the United States. There are many more of them than there are 18 to 22-year-olds. They're going back to school. Let's see. We're hiring a new provost. We have a new search. Having a provost, interim provost Marker has given us the luxury of someone who can run it, can keep it going. And we have the luxury of taking our time and looking for a good provost. We're trying to be frugal. We have not hired a huge, expensive search firm that costs you $100,000. We have launched a national search on our own to see who we can get. And the pool is up. Kyle is co-chair, and we have how many applications now?
52.
52. That's not small. It closes on the 28th, and we'll see who we have. And if we have good candidates, we'll bring them in. If not, Provost Marker will keep his hands on the steering wheel, and we will hire a firm, and we'll go that next step. But let's see what we get. The last thing that I want to inform you about in terms of our initiatives is program prioritization. As you know, the University of West Florida, like most universities in this country, has been trying to be all things to all people. We have all kinds of majors. They've grown organically as the faculty has changed over time and as enrollment has grown. We need to know which programs give us the best return on investment, which programs give us the worst. Which ones do we want to subsidize of those that cost us money? Which ones do we want to make sure are alive and well so that they continue to subsidize the ones that don't make money but we want to keep? So we're doing that this year, and you'll hear more of that from the provost. Our research dollars are high. Our oil spill research grant we got a $5 million to social work, Dr. Glenn Rohr, on the mental health issues that went along with the oil spill in the region. We have a professor, Ezrat Bakram, a professor of electrical engineering, who's going to affect your life. He has been recognized by the American Institute of Physics Journal. What he has done in layman's language is invented a storage device for our everythings that the batteries in it do not wear down from recharging. As you know, when we all go to bed at night, we plug in our iPhones and our iPads and everything else. But because we plug them in and they haven't been run down, it wears them out. He has made an invention that prevents that. So, Professor Basram is being recognized for that. Fundraising. Kyle's been busy, and current campaign is $10.3 million already.
10.5.
Very good. This morning, 10.5. We've had several gifts that Kyle and his staff have gotten for us. I'll just run down a few. $45,000 for a downtown lecture series, $22,000 from a trust in Virginia, Larry Manzik, who is from Pensacola, $25,000 in endowment in chemistry, Mike Johnson, $25,000 for a business scholarship, and men's basketball, Senate, and we also have a new one. Kyle?
Yes, I was fortunate to have lunch with Will and Jane Merrill on Monday, and the Merrill family has made a commitment to the College of Business, and we're thankful for that and thankful for all the Merrills do. It'll be the naming the computer and trading lab in the College of Business, and it'll be the W.C. Merrill family name on the computer and trading lab in the College of Business.
So we're still a top college. We're still a great college to work for, and I will make a State of the University address on next Thursday at 10 o'clock. I'd like all of you to be there who can. I hear it's going to be quite, showy. We're going to have singers and music and lights and curtains, and I don't think we're going to have any fog come in the room. But we have a new events person, no fog, and but it's going to be different. So I encourage you to come or watch it on the webcast. Scenic Hills, we're dedicating that on Friday, September 28th, a week from today. Come have a drink with us and celebrate the Scenic Hills Country Club and Golf Course at UWF official opening. And the College of Business on October the 4th. And also we have a national speaker on program prioritization. A colleague of our provost, David Marker, knows a man named Bob Dickinson, who has written this book, many editions on program prioritization. He is going to help us get started in doing that on our campus. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I am a little windy, and I know that your toe is tapping. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Very good, Judy. Thank you. And certainly we want to recognize the fact that all this great news is due to a fantastic faculty and staff. I'd now like to call on Provost David Markham to give us a student and faculty recognition report.
Well, Mr. Chair, I want to pick up on your comment. Each meeting now, we spend a bit of time focusing on our students and our faculty. They, after all, are the reason we're here. They're the reason that each of us in our own way give time, talent, and treasure to the university. So today we're going to focus on a faculty member and a student at the Emerald Coast. And to introduce them, I'd like to call upon the Executive Director of the Emerald Coast, Susan Shaw. Susan?
Thank you, and welcome to the Emerald Coast. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce to you Andy Holnack. He's an associate professor here and over hospitality and resort management. He also is our community region chair, and the hospitality program is growing quite a bit, and I'm going to let Andy talk to that. But Andy is an amazing professor. He recruits students, he advises his students, and he follows them all the way through the program and then into their career fields. And I have the pleasure of having a lot of his students in my classes because I teach marketing here and they're required to take marketing. And I can't tell you the enthusiasm that they bring to my class about what they do and how they're excited about their career fields. So without really further ado, I'm going to introduce Andy and let him talk about that program.
Good morning, folks. The hospitality program, or Hospitality Recreation Resort Management Program here at UWF is very fortunate throughout our entire campus. We happen to live in one of the greatest places for tourism, that exists, and here in the state of Florida. It's our largest employer. Statewide, we employ over 1 million people. And those 1 million people need supervision and help. So that's our opportunity for us to help the culture and the community. An interesting thing over here in the Fort Walton area is that we have just, within this last year, we have partnered with Northwest Florida State College with a 2+2 program that more seamlessly allows our students to more seamlessly move from the basic degrees, AA degree area, up to get the bachelor's degrees with us. Well, the state of Florida is so proud of that agreement that we did that there's a little pot of money out there. So we got some extra funding out of them to the tune of Can I say it? $180,000.
That's a good number.
Yes, it is. For us to get the hospitality stuff kicked off, and so I'm very excited. This gives us opportunities for marketing. We were able to hire a new instructor. We can look at folks in the eye and say, you know what? If you want to come to the UWF Fort Walton Beach campus and get your degree in hospitality, recreation, resort management, you do not need to go to Pensacola anymore. We're a freestanding and independent program. It's a great thing for us because as we move Fort Walton, Okaloosa County, Walton County, Panama City, as we're moving in that direction, these are some of the largest hospitality areas within the state, generating a tremendous amount of tax revenue. I think I heard a quote that during the summer, with the exception of the Orlando area, the Emerald Coast collects more bed tax money than anybody else in the state. So we are major players at the state level. And so it's really fun for me to be able to work with that program and things like that. Now, the thing that I think is kind of funny, and having Susan introduce me and stuff, I really enjoy my job. And oddly enough, my mom, a very important person in my life years ago, gave me some advice that perhaps maybe you guys heard, also. She told me, son, if you can find a job or a career area that you really, really like and that you have a passion for, you'll never work another day in your life. Okay? And, Dr. Ben, sorry, with the exception of faculty meetings and a few things like that, I don't work very often.
I understand. Some days it is work, but you got to do that. So
Yes, it is, but we are fortunate to be able to do things like that in hospitality in one of the greatest spots that there is. For the trustees or the other folks that didn't know, Destin was ranked in the top 5 places to live in America last year on the Good Morning America show. So we're just very happy with all that stuff. Well, another important thing of doing that is our students. The students that come here, at the university, some of them are coming just to find themselves and search for themselves. Some have come in and found where that they want to go and need some tools. Other students come in and they've got the tools and maybe need some refining. So we get all kinds of levels. The student I would like to introduce today is one of those who needs very little refining, actually. Her name is Amanda Burke. And she is what they might call that non-traditional student that was just described by Dr. Benz. She's operations coordinator at Topsail Resort and has returned to school to complete her degree. The interesting thing about her is it's more like a collaboration. When she comes in, she brings so much into the classroom that she helps us do our job. She came up at Topsail Resort and went to her boss and said, our standard operating procedures haven't been updated in years. Okay, Amanda, why don't you go do that? Okay, and that's good. So as she's wrapping up that report, and so we did an independent study for that. Now she's got another project going on. She works, Topsail Resort is part of the Resort Quest company. And what they're doing is every year they have to do annual unit inspections, and where they have to go into each unit and evaluate and things like that. And she didn't think that was up to snuff, so she went to the bosses, and the bosses said, Amanda, good idea, you're in charge. So one of our students is in charge of this annual unit inspection for this entire Northwest region from Panama City over to Gulf Shores. She goes in and, not lectures, gives PowerPoint presentations to the general managers to help them do their job. Okay, so I'd like to take a quick minute and introduce or invite Amanda to come up and talk about her.
thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am Amanda Burke, and as Andy mentioned, I am a non-traditional student here, and I fit in the 25 to 49 range category. It's a wide range, so you can make your guesses, just don't tell me about them. I am a senior in the Hospitality and Resort Management program here at the Fort Walton Beach branch of the University of West Florida. I originally went to Florida State University for 3 years, and I took a semester off. That ended up being a decade or so. And when I finally figured out what I wanted to do with my life, it was when I was working in hospitality. I took a break from it, and it's just like a bad habit. I had to come pick it back up. It's just something that I thrive on. So I was Googling around. I was trying to find a program that was feasible for the type of work schedule that I have. And I found out that Fort Walton Beach did have a program, which was just a huge score. Made an appointment with Andy, and he just gave me the inspiration that I needed. He assured me, come high water, you will finish this degree program without having to jeopardize the position that you're in. So here I am today to share with you, because this program and the diligence of the staff here to grow this program have changed my life. And because I believe that this program is actually unique to any other hospitality program. I work with people who do have degrees in hospitality from other major resorts, or not resorts, universities. And they tell me of falling asleep in class and copying notes from the person next to them and kind of getting lost in a very large classroom. And their work does show the fruit of that inadequate participation and a lack of inspiration from the professors that they were under. And my work shows the inspiration and the dedication of the people that work here in Fort Walton Beach for the University of West Florida. They are so encouraging and attentive. And we've got such an ideal student ratio that you don't have the opportunity to disengage like you may in a larger university. But more than professors and teachers, they really assume and take responsibility for their role here to their students as mentors and as advocates. And I am certainly a better person for that. Our Fort Walton Beach program is interactive, and the curriculum is so encompassing, I found, that they are not preparing me to be a middle manager. They are preparing me to take leadership to any level that I would like, from development to strategic analysis to strategic planning, and then actually managing the operation. And I don't know that that's something that students are getting elsewhere. So the sky is the limit with the education that they're giving me here. The expansion of this program is paramount. I got to inventorying the classes that I need to graduate, and it was still teetering on the edge of having to go to Pensacola. And for me, that meant two things, both that are counterproductive to the goal of my education and the goal of the university. One was that I would quit my job in hospitality in order to be able to drive to Pensacola. That's obviously not ideal. I work for a huge company. It would be a burnt bridge. It would just not have been a good scenario. And then the other was to not continue my degree, which also is counterproductive. So it came just in the nick of time that you guys had the net gain of the faculty needed to bring that program over here. And that net gain on your end was my gain. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported and funded and dreamed and put their hard work into this program, because it's changed my life. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy and Amanda. I had the pleasure yesterday of sitting in on Andy's, one of Andy's courses that he was teaching. And I was going to go in and stay for about 15 minutes. And it was so interesting that I stayed for the whole hour. And certainly his students were very engaged. They didn't go to sleep. And they participated in the class as if they were really genuinely interested in it. So I can't say enough good things about Andy and the program and the students here.
That's pretty good, having the provost in your class room.
Stressful is the word.
Yeah. Stressful.
Did you give him the proper week's notice?
Thank you, Dr. Marker. As an employer in this part of the world, we certainly, and I think I speak for others here, we certainly appreciate the fact that we have professors who are excited about what they do and love it, and have students that feel the same way, that they're doing what they really want to do. There's no better way to develop great work ethic than to have people doing what they really love to do. So congratulations to both of you.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Please.
I wanted to say that this hospitality program is an example of how we are going to grow here in the eastern part of our region. We are not being all things to all people. There is a big demand. There is a big demand for the hospitality. We heard it loud and clear from people in the industry as well as students. And when we reorganized here at the Emerald Coast under Susan Shaw's direction, she has made this this ethic of ours come to fruition. The provost has come through. The vice presidents have come through with the money. But we said we would do it, and we did. And Susan, I want to thank you and Andy, who's carried the flag here for so long. It is going to grow. Partnership with Gulf Coast State College is right on the horizon for this. And this is where hospitality is in our region. It's not as big in Pensacola, but once you get to the Fort Walton Beach Destin area, it is just gangbusters. So it is the kind of, it is the way we're going to grow our programs here. What people need, what they want, we will do our very best to give them the full boat, the full program right here in Fort Walton Beach and or Panama City or in this facility, so they don't have to drive to Pensacola. They don't have to quit their job or choose between their job and their education. Thank you.
Thank you, President Benz. You all have had the opportunity to look at the minutes of the June 14th full board meeting, the June 14th.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion to approve the 4 minutes that are before you. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, could we please call the question? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Stand approved. Let's go to the committee reports, please. I'd like to call on Susan O'Connor to give the Audit and Operations Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Audit and Operations Committee met on August 13th, and there was one acceptance item and one informational item. The acceptance item is the acceptance of the internal audit P-card audit reports, quarterly update, and that's the quarter from April through June of this year, and the annual recap of all P-card audit reports. We provided a short, clear overview of the P-card audits completed during the fiscal year and highlighted the results. And during this quarter, 5 departments were reviewed, including 153 transactions. And if you recall, our goal is to just keep rolling over the different departments that we're going to do, and so that eventually we hit them all. And if we have a concern anywhere, we'll continue to really watch that one closely. 2 of the departments, however, received a poor ranking and were required to submit a formal remediation plan to correct their actions. They submitted the plan the very same day as the findings and are taking the necessary corrective actions. The internal audit will continue to monitor their progress. The findings related to signing transactions stating the business purpose or performing timely reconciliation was the findings that we found that needed to be corrected. And then the informational item for the internal auditing updates on the activities. And this provided the committee with an overview of activities within the internal auditing and management consulting. And the first item was external auditing review. And it's the status of required self-assessment and external quality assurance review as required by the Institute of Internal Auditors. The second was the status of the audits that we currently have in progress. And the third was the status of advisory and consulting activities going on. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I conclude my report.
Thank you. Student Affairs Committee, Kevin Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Student Affairs Committee met on August 13th. There was 1 action item and 7 informational items. The action item, UWF Reg 3.011, Student Appeals and Grievances. The University of West Florida provides a variety of procedures and mechanisms for students to address concerns related to institutional policies, services, and decisions. The proposed amendment to the student grievance regulation clarifies the overall system for student appeals, complaints, and grievances while aligning with the recently created student grievance process policy and grade appeal policy. The intent is for the regulation to provide the high-level framework while including specific procedures in appropriate university policies. Under informational items, first, inclusion and diversity update. In the wake of the noose incidents and the slur written on the wall of Argo Hall in April 2012, an update was provided regarding initiatives that are launching now related to the university's increased attention to issues of diversity and inclusion. Number two, retention efforts PowerPoint. During the 2011-2012 academic year, a committee drafted an FTIC retention plan that is commencing now. The specific tasks to be accomplished during the 2012-2013 academic year were discussed. Through the Strategic Planning and Resource Alignment, or SPAR process in spring 2012, elements of the retention plan received funding. Item number three, Argo Arrival. Argo Arrival is an annual tradition and the official kickoff of the academic school year at UWF, formerly called Welcome Week. It fosters school spirit for both new and returning students. During this time, students will make new friends, learn more about UWF, the surrounding Pensacola area, including Pensacola Beach, explore resources that can help them through their college career, and most of all, have FUN. Item four, housing update regarding the opening of President's Hall, summer projects, and occupancy for fall 2012. As you've already heard, occupancy was over 100% for fall 2012. Item number five, student conduct statistics. A review was provided of the spring 2012 semester stats, and then a comparison was made, and then decisions were talked about in terms of areas or items we need to focus on for this year in terms of discipline. Item number six, summer cohort update. One of the recommendations of the university's retention plan is to create a summer program for students who are underprepared for college-level math. A lot of you heard from Dr. Benz's report earlier. On item number seven, alumni survey results. In December 2011, UWF Advancement Division commissioned the Haas Center to gather data on the university's alumni population to inform future strategic plans, as well as answers to data requests from the state of Florida. Survey items were structured around four key areas: alumni attitudes, alumni involvement, alumni giving, alumni demographics. The Advancement Division will utilize data from the survey to establish a baseline for alumni data, shape strategic directions for alumni and development programs, and establish marketing messages. With that, Mr. Chair, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. I'd like to call on Trustee Bob Jones to give the Academic Affairs Committee report.
The Academic Affairs Committee met on August the 13th. There are three items considered for recommendation by the full board. The first was the adoption of the 2013-2014 academic calendar. This is required by the Board of Governors that an official copy of the annual calendar adopted by each university shall be filed with the board. The second item was the revision of UWF Regulation 3.041, religious observances. This regulation was adopted in 2012, which advises students that they will be reasonably accommodated for religious observances. This is a proposed amendment clarifying that student responsibilities in seeking the accommodations, and updates the website address for reviewing the university's discrimination policies. The third action item was revision of UWF Regulation 3.030, academic misconduct. This regulation is required to be reviewed every 3 years. The regulation was reviewed and updated and approved by this board on June the 14th, 2012. That regulation was submitted to the Board of Governors, and they have requested that we make two amendments to that policy. The first is that the time period between the date the student is charged with academic misconduct and the date of the hearing on those charges. And the second is the ability of the charged student and his or her advisor to review the records that we presented at the hearing at least 3 business days before the hearing. The committee has recommended to the board the approval of these 3 action items. There was also informational items. We reviewed a summary of the degree program changes from July of 2011 through June the 30th of 2012. And these changes were new programs, 1 new program, 7 deleted programs, and there were no significantly modified programs. The second item was the academic program review for 2012-2013. This was required by the Florida Board of Governors. Requires a review of all academic programs on a 7-year cycle. University of West Florida's policies detail the requirement of the program review process. The results of program reviews are expected to inform strategic planning, program development, and resource decisions. And among key components of academic program reviews are the appropriate input from external experts, review of the mission and purpose of the program within the context of the UWF mission and the Board of Governors strategic plan, the establishment of teaching, research, services, and other program goals and objectives with an emphasis on assessing student learning outcomes. Third informational item was an update on the honorary awards and recognition procedures, which is a discussion item at this board meeting. The Honorary Awards and Recognition Committee had met recently to focus on 2 areas of responsibilities, and these were reviewed with us. A refinement of the protocol involved in nominations for honorary degrees and other presidential recognitions, and 2, the review and approval of the commencement speaker candidate for December 2012. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. I'd now like to call on Trustee O'Sullivan to give a Finance and Facilities Committee report.
The Finance and Facilities Committee met on August 13th. There were 2 action items and 1 informational item. The first of our action items was UWF Regulation 4.0032, cancellation of registration and reinstatement. This regulation advises students that their registration will be canceled if they have not paid by the 5th week of classes. The Board of Governors Regulation 7.0027 states that each university must establish procedures for the payment of tuition by regulation. It also specifies that the university regulation must provide that a student's registration shall be canceled if payment or appropriate arrangements for payment has not occurred by the end of the 2nd week of classes. The proposed amendments change our 5th week to be the 2nd week and adds a provision regarding appropriate arrangements. Our second action item was UWF Regulation 5.010, Educational Research Center for Child Development, the fees associated with that. At the June 14th, 2012 Board of Trustees meeting, that regulation 5.010 was approved. The regulation contains a fee schedule. Subsequent to our meeting, an error was discovered in the fee schedule, and the proposed amendment to the regulation today corrects that error. And then finally, information items. There are 2 campus development agreement with the Escambia County and University of West Florida. The Board of Trustees adopted a new strategic plan at our June meeting. Next, we work to develop a campus development agreement with Escambia County. This plan will address mitigation of infrastructure impacts, public facilities, and services, including roads, sewer, drainage, etc. This is underway. Our discussions with Escambia County are taking place now, and that document we expect to be brought to us at our December meeting. And then finally, 1 additional discussion item, real property policy. Trustee Cleveland noted that some universities have real property policies, particularly when direct service organizations like our BEI are active, that would give the Board of Trustees a secondary oversight when DSOs are developing land. We are exploring this at the committee level. We are looking at other policies in the state, and we will come forward with a recommendation if appropriate. With that, Mr. Chair, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Trustee O'Sullivan. Next on our agenda is the consent items for approval. There are 7 items on our agenda, and all were fully discussed at the different committee meetings. And I'd like to know if anybody would like to have any of the items removed from the consent agenda for further discussion.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right.
We have a new caller.
Before we move to the action items for the full board, I'd like to call for a 10-minute break.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Okay, how are you? Good man.
Dr. Bailey, do you know where the restroom is?
Yes, it was perfect.
I want to mention something to you before my memory blanked out and I forgot. I don't know whether you read it on a regular.
Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar. I am following the river down the highway through the cradle of the Civil War. I'm going to Graceland, Graceland, to Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to Graceland. Poor boys and pilgrims with families, and we are going to Graceland. My traveling companion is 9 years old. He is the child of my first marriage. But I've reason to believe we both will be received in Graceland. She comes back to tell me she's gone, as if I didn't know that, as if I didn't know my own bed. As if I'd never noticed the way she brushed her hair from her forehead. And she said, losing love is like a window in your heart. Everybody sees you're blown apart. Everybody sees the wind blow. I'm going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to Graceland. Boys and pilgrims with families, and we are going to Graceland. And my traveling companions are ghosts and empty sockets. I'm looking at ghosts and empties. But I've reason to believe we all will be received in Graceland. There is a girl in New York City, calls herself the human trampoline. Sometimes when I'm falling, flying, or tumbling in turmoil, I say, whoa, so this is what she means. She means we're bouncing into Graceland. see losing love is like a window in your heart. Well, everybody sees you're blown apart. Everybody feels the wind blow. Ooh, in Graceland, Graceland, I'm going to Graceland. For reasons I cannot explain, there's some part of me wants to see Graceland. And I may be obliged to defend every love, every ending, or maybe there's no obligations now. Maybe I have a reason to believe we all will be received in Graceland.
Hey, baby, kept my soul. Thought I was your only vato. Hey, baby, kept my soul. Please don't leave me desimoso. Come on, baby, turn around. Let me see your pretty blue eyes. Don't you know that I love you? Please don't leave me desimoso. Hey, baby, keep my soul. Thought I was your only vato. Hey, baby, keep my soul. Won't you give me un beso? Hey, baby, keep my soul. Thought I was your only vato. Hey, baby, keep my soul. Please don't leave me desimoso. Come on, baby, turn around. Let me show you how I feel. Don't you know that I love you? And my corazón is real. Hey, baby, kept my soul. Thought I was your only vato. Hey, baby, kept my soul. Won't you give me un beso? Hey, baby, kept my soul. Thought I was your only vato. Hey, baby, keep my soul. Please don't leave me desimoso. Hey, baby, keep my soul. Thought I was your only vato. Hey, baby, keep my soul. Won't you give me uno beso? Hey, baby, keep my soul. Thought I was your only vato.
Don't get crazy. know you've heard it all before, so I don't say it anymore. I just stand by and let you fight your secret war. And though I used to wonder why, I used to cry till I was dry, still sometimes I get a strange pain inside. Oh, Joey, if you're hurting, so am I. Joey, honey, I'll save all my money. All is forgiven. Listen, listen. And if I seem to be
Folks, if you'd please take your seat. I always like that announcement because nobody pays any attention to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Did mine not work? Oh, thank you.
I'm majoring in public relations, and then I have a minor in psychology. Don't know why I did that, and minor in political science. But why'd you think it was? Oh, because
Maria,
yeah.
your internship. Are there
And public in my field, yes. Definitely in communication arts. In others, I think like engineering and a few other of the disciplines. In College of Business, though, they have a great program going on, trying to match people up earlier on, not just like
I've got a technical question.
half days of mentorship programs. Professional studies, there's tons. A lot of people want paid internships. That's not.
Next on the agenda, I'd like to move to the other action items that need to come before the full board. The first item is the presidential evaluation and goals. Each of you have before you a copy of the summary of the evaluation, and I'd like to ask if there are any questions. We had 12 trustees who completed the questionnaire and the evaluation, and so I'd like to open it up now for any discussion anybody might want to have. Any questions? Hearing no questions, I would like to call for a motion to approve.
make a motion to approve the evaluation?
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. All right. The second part of the agenda item that I'd like to call on President Benz to discuss the goals for the upcoming year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all will recall, like you couldn't possibly forget because we just did it, you have adopted a new strategic plan, and in June. And in our world, that is a big deal. And as president, I consider it my responsibility to provide the leadership to ensure that the UWF fulfills the articulated mission and makes progress towards the vision and the priorities, strategic priorities that are in our new strategic plan. You have two documents at your place. The first one, the one that's green and blue, this one is a snapshot. I know it's a big, but it is one page. It's a snapshot of our mission, vision, values, strategic directions, priorities, and a few ways that we can monitor our progress and achievements. Certainly throughout the year, we will gather other contextual information and indicators of progress, but we have delineated in this chart some of the items that we are going to monitor. The next document that you have at your places